Hey everyone, my name is Ray, and I am the Director of Training and Development for the Teach Better team, as well as a full-time classroom teacher, 6th grade math. We are here for our bi-weekly family check-in, which I was telling someone earlier today, it's like the easiest live stream we get to do, because in my mind, this is just an opportunity for all of us to talk shop and get the family together. Usually we only stream this in our private group. Today we're doing something a little bit different where we are streaming in our private group, but we're also streaming on Twitter and YouTube and Twitch just for fun. However, this bi-weekly family check-in is truly was created by our private Facebook group, and it's always been continued because of our private Facebook group, because I want to say it must now be almost a year ago, over a year ago, we were trying to find a way to best serve our community. Hey, Tim, good to see you. And as we were trying to serve our community in the best way humanly possible, we realized that we might as well just ask our community, ask our private group how we can support. And one of the recommendations, which there were 3 different pieces that we implemented from that poll. But one of the main pieces was for us to do a bi-weekly family check-in, because our network, our private group just said, hey, Ray, we're looking for some live time that we know is scheduled, that we can kind of ask questions and kick off, the week strong. And we've never stopped. So I guess for over a year now, we've been doing these bi-weekly family check-ins. And while we do other things in, a lot of different platforms that hopefully you've caught us on, we have our Mastery Chat that we do every Thursday. We have our podcast that publishes twice a week. We just did a 12-hour live stream, and the team does a lot when we're live. We're doing so many webinars right now. But in my mind, this is the easy one. This is the one where you get to pop in every other Sunday at 7 o'clock Central, 8 o'clock Eastern. Say hi, bring your questions, and come hang out. So I'm so appreciative that so many of you are here. It's kind of fun. It's been a weird week, but this is my 6th time live this week. So the only day that I didn't go live with all of you was yesterday, Saturday. But every other day this week, I've been involved in like a live webinar. I've been involved in our live stream. And so right now I'm like, oh, these are all, I missed you yesterday. Hope you guys had a good Saturday. Thanks for all the hearts I'm seeing so far. So hi to Joe. So wonderful to see all of you. Remember, if you're in our private Facebook group, I can't see your comments. So you do need to put your name at the end, but I see Liv's in here, Brian, Katie, Kat. Oh, so fun. Lindsay, I was just messaging you on Twitter. So cool that you're now over here on Facebook. Love that. Brian says, how do you keep it straight? You're doing so much. Brian, how do you keep it straight? Because I might be doing so much, but you're involved in all of it. So I don't know how you keep it straight either. I do want to preface, though, kind of as Brian jokes, like, how do you keep it straight? Let's just clarify what this live video is about. In case you're just popping in, feel free to heart if you've had a good weekend so far. I'd love to hear about how all of you are doing. But also you should know that all of our live streams have some sort of purpose, right? So this live stream is one of the only ones that is purely unstructured. We're here to answer your questions. It's usually me for these bi-weekly family check-ins, but sometimes it's other members of our team. And we're just essentially live until we run out of things that you have questions about, or we run out of information that you're looking for. And then I go off and enjoy the rest of my Sunday, and you guys hopefully do the same. So if you have questions, everything's fair game for our bi-weekly family check-in. You can ask questions about education. You can ask questions about classroom. You can ask questions about buildings. You can ask questions about students. You can ask questions about the team. I know there's a lot going on with the team. It's really hard to keep all of it straight. Similar to what Brian said, like there's a lot going on. Everything. Just feel free to post things here. We're always here to be transparent and be a brainstorming partner for you. And especially during the school year when we do these Sunday bi-weekly family check-ins, it's really just a way for us to get in the right mindset to start our week. And while I know a lot of us here are actually on summer break and some of us are finishing up the year, these are still important. This is still a valuable way to kick off your week. This is still a valuable way to, kind of address the hurdle that you might still be thinking through. But regardless, this space is for you. So if there's no questions, then we'll conclude a little early. And if there are questions, then we can talk through them. I will let you know, for those of you that have been paying attention this week, we do have our ambassador program that's launching the 17th. Is that Wednesday? I'm pretty sure it's Wednesday. So that will be a really fun opportunity. Even some of you that commented, I know, are ambassadors for our kickoff, but we are accepting applications for our Teach Better Ambassador program that we just announced last week during our 12-hour live stream. By the way, if you were a part of that, you should heart and show me that you were there. It was a crazy, crazy, crazy time. But that ambassador program does open, and it's important because I'll actually, if you have questions, please post the comments about the ambassador program because I'll try and share everything humanly possible. But the ambassador program is going to open on the 17th at 11 o'clock Eastern time, which is 10 o'clock Central. And the reason the time is specific, I just want you to know, is because this is a brand new program for us. And the Teach Better team doesn't like launching something and not being able to invest everything humanly possible in it. So what we decided, thanks to Megan and Andrea's hard work in creating this ambassador program, is that we're actually only accepting 20 applications. And the hope is that that will allow us to take a group of approved applicants and really make sure we're serving them in the best way possible. And then the hope would be that then we can open it back up again and take even more ambassadors for the Teach Better team. But we did want to start in a way that we knew that we could handle it and really make sure that we found the right group every single time. So when that opens, I actually don't know how long it's going to be open because we're taking 20 applicants. So in my mind, that could be a few hours from when it originally launches at 11 o'clock Eastern in the morning, by the way. Or it could be open for a few days. And I want to be transparent that I actually don't know, but I hope you get involved. So thrilled that you guys are here. Good. I'm seeing these comments roll in. I love when you guys comment, so feel free to keep doing that. This is a space to ask questions. So if you have questions about anything, classroom related, team related, Ray related, Jeff related. Jeff Gargis ran a marathon today. Hello. So cool. If you've got questions, we've got answers, or at least I can make something up, or at least pretend to be a brainstorming partner with you. Danielle says, who would be best qualified to join the ambassador program opening Wednesday? Danielle, you're like a genius for asking that question. That's the best question ever. I should open my, sorry, I'm typing on my phone to pull up the qualifications because the qualifications are on the Teach Better website. So if you go to, and I'm literally doing it on my phone right now, teachbetter.com/ambassador. Sorry, I'm clicking through. If you go to teachbetter.com/ambassador, you're going to be able to see that a few things, and I'll get to the qualifications in a second. The first thing you're going to see is that applications are currently closed. But if you click on that, you can get a reminder email to tell you when they're opening. So if you want to make sure that you're applying on Wednesday, that reminder might be helpful because there'll be like an email coming through reminding you. Then you can see the ambassadors that are already a part of the program, which is so exciting. We have 7 amazing ambassadors we're launching with. And then you can kind of read through like, what's the ambassador program? What are the benefits of the ambassador program? And at the very bottom, it does have all the requirements listed. So I can read them to you. It says, requirements. Are you an active participant in one of the following? And so here's the list. Follow the team on Instagram. You're a member of the private Facebook group, which if you're in here, you should be a member of the private Facebook group. Participate in Mastery Chat or engage in Teach Better live videos. So all of you can say yes to that one. Have you participated in at least one Teach Better sponsored workshop or course? So this can be online or in person. So if you've taken any courses in the Teach Better Academy, if you've taken any webinars that we've done, whether they be like full paid webinars or our free webinar we just did, you're qualified. So that's all good. Have you subscribed, rated, and reviewed the Teach Better Talk podcast? So all of you, if you don't listen to podcasts, we do have a Teach Better Talk podcast that Jeff Gargis and I host. So if you want to go over there, all you need to do is subscribe, rate, and review. And then it says, are you prepared to take a 1-minute video explaining why you want to be a Teach Better Team Ambassador? Hopefully the answer is yes. And it says, if you've answered yes to all these questions, you're ready to fill out the application. So actually, you can read that yourself over at teachbetter.com/ambassador. It's at the bottom of the page. And hopefully then you can kind of go throughout the checklist of like, yes, I've done that. Yes, I've done that. And if there's something you haven't done, all those things are hopefully easy enough that you can get it done like before Wednesday. So that way, you know, walking in, you're in a good spot. I do think, Danielle, to your point, I'm sorry, I know I'm going to get to more comments. I do think you need to show evidence of these pieces. So I don't know how necessarily it's going to ask you to do that. That might be a good question to email Megan or Andrea. So you can do like Megan@teachbetter.com or Andrea@teachbetter.com. Either way, you're going to be in a really good spot, because if you've done all those things, I'm sure like a screenshot of some sort would be good. So I'm so excited that you're asking, because hopefully that means you're applying, and Danielle, you'd be a great fit. Brian looks like he also is. I love this. I love this. Oh my gosh, there's so many comments. I just lost my spot. I apologize. All right. So fun to see all of you. Happy to spend Monday through Friday with the Teach Better team, and Sunday now. So I love it. Liv, I'm so excited that you enjoyed our 12-hour live stream. That was exhausting, but super fun. Live show was so much fun, says Debbie. That's so sweet. What is the ambassador program? Great question. I kind of talked about it here, but the ambassador program is going to be another way to get involved with our team. Our team does a lot of different elements. We really want everyone to feel like family and included, but obviously there's more ways you can get involved, right? We have like people that are involved in our speakers network. We have people that are part of our podcast network. We have people that participate in Mastery Chat. We have our guest bloggers. We have actually like members of the Teach Better team. There's a lot of different avenues and pockets that people can get involved. And you can kind of read about it on the website, but Andrea and Megan came to us and said, we really want to celebrate educators more. Like another way is like, if you're a Facebook moderator for us, we have like 10 amazing Teach Better Team Facebook moderators that are active in our private group. And the whole point of all of this is just wanting to make sure that everyone feels seen, everyone can contribute their insight. And we just have a lot of people, hopefully, that are spreading the message of the Teach Better mindset. And so when Megan and Andrea came up with this idea, we're like, yes, another way to celebrate educators, sign us up. So again, you can find out more at teachbetter.com/ambassadors for that. How do you anticipate using the ambassadors? I saw the cool stuff. Brian, that is a secret. You're going to see in the application a few things. And also when you're accepted, you're going to see the variety of different ways that you can get involved. It's less about how we're going to use ambassadors and more about how we want to find ways to celebrate people and make them feel included. So I don't think there's like a way we're like using ambassadors in terms of requirements that you're going to have to do to like be an ambassador. But Megan and Andrea have some secrets up their sleeve, which I'm really going to try and not spill all the secrets right now. I think Megan is watching because I saw her comment. If you're an ambassador, you will be a part of some exclusive things that will allow you to get involved with our team. And for a lot of people, I think you're going to enjoy it. So I really should probably stop talking about it. It'll be good. All right. Yes, congrats to Jeff running his marathon. So cool. Danielle says done. Thank you. And then perfect. So somebody commented, yes, you need to upload images as proof. So perfect. Like right now, take a screenshot that you're participating in this live video. Like that way you have it, save it on your desktop. That could be a great stop for you. Megan says you'll show evidence by uploading a screenshot to the application. Perfect. Megan is a lead ambassador. So definitely continue to reach out with her. You guys should definitely get involved. I have a million alarms on my phone, so I don't forget to apply to be an ambassador. That's so fun. Chelsea, you'd be such a great ambassador. You really would be, especially Chelsea. I feel like I could fill out the application for you. Have you participated in a live video? Yes, obviously. Have you participated in an event? Yes, you were at the Teach Better conference. Are you an active member? Yes, all the time. So Chelsea, you're going to be golden. Again, I think the ambassador program is going to be great for anybody in this chat because everybody here has their own ways of like getting involved on the team. And the whole point of this is just to try and serve you better, like amplify your story better. That's really all it was created for. So for so many of you that are already active, we just wanted to help you see how much we appreciate you being active. You know, like you saw during our 12-hour live stream that we gave away a ton of stuff. Like we love doing that because we just really want you to know how much we appreciate you. We want you to be more included than ever. And if you ever had an opportunity to be more included, we hope that you grab onto it because we're all in this pursuit of better. And I don't know, we appreciate you. So it's fun. Just as a reminder, because I know we're about 15 minutes in so far, I appreciate all the commenting. We're currently in the midst of our bi-weekly family check-in. And our biweekly family check-in was created by our private group as a way for us to just make sure we were live to answer questions if there was any questions. And so this is kind of a crazy week because we just came out of our 12-hour live stream, and we've been doing 2 different webinars this week that were 2 days each. So we were just constantly accessible. But regardless of how accessible we might be during a week, for example, like even during COVID, closing for schools, we went live every single day for our daily drop-in for like 2 or 3 months. And even though we're always accessible, we just never cancel these Sunday biweekly family check-ins because this is just an opportunity for us to get together and answer questions. So questions like the application process for the academy is perfect, or I'm sorry, for the ambassador program is perfect. If you have other questions about classroom, school, the Teach Better team, let me know. I don't know what specifically I can share. I do have some secrets up my sleeve, but I have some announcements I guess I could spoil if you guys are looking for certain things. The ambassador program I did tell you a lot about. So hopefully if you are just popping in right now and you want to learn more about the ambassador program, you can absolutely comment here. But also if you go back and look at what we've talked about for the past 5 minutes, you'll get a lot of information. Kate says, this team has been great for me. Thanks for all you do. Oh, I'm so glad. That's awesome. That's the whole point. We are trying to be available and trying to include everybody on our own pursuit to being better, which is wonderful. So for all of you that are here, please type in if you have a question about the team or the classroom. If we don't have questions, that's fine, but we'll like kind of conclude our Sunday, and we can all go back to enjoying our Sundays afternoons. My puppies are currently down here wondering why I'm talking to myself, so go hang out with them and all that good stuff. Oh, good. This is a question here from, looks like Livia. Perfect. So it says, you mentioned on Friday that your students spend a lot of time collaborating. So starting in the fall, what's your plan for developing this as we are in a blended environment? Good. Great question. I totally agree. I will say, Livia, we were together on Friday because we were Friday was the end of our free teacher webinar. It was the last day. Chad and I actually did a Q&A with everybody that was involved. And we did a Q&A on anything that we had covered for those 6 weeks. So we had 6 weeks, 12-session free webinar. It was called Better at a Distance. And we kind of wrapped everything up on Friday with a Q&A. If you want to see that Q&A or experience any of the trainings, any of the 12 sessions, you actually can. It's in our academy, all the recorded sessions. So if you go to teachbetteracademy.com, you can see all of those. If you have problems with that, feel free to DM me because there might be another way for you to get involved as well. But either way, very fun teacher webinar. And that was a great opportunity. We had to talk through a lot of different pieces. Some of the main pieces we talked about was the grid method. It just came up in the Q&A. And the grid method is a great way for students and teachers to organize and manage a self-paced mastery classroom. So we talked a lot about that. There's also a grid method webinar going on right now on Tuesdays and Thursdays. And we're actually going to do another one this July, as well as an introduction grid later in July, which was fun to announce on Thursday as well. In terms of your conversation about collaboration, Liv, that's a great question. So I will answer now, but I want to be completely transparent. I am a 6th grade math teacher. And while I love my job, I am doing just as much reflecting and adapting as all of you are. So this is my plan right now, but it might change. So we can continue to follow up with each other. I hope, Livia, I hope that we continue to have this conversation, because who knows, in 2 months, it might look different. For me currently, in August, will be rolling out my student work using the grid method. And when I do this, I'm going to start with an introduction grid, which is going to allow my students to learn the policy and procedures of my classroom. And they're going to be able to learn the grid method by going through a get to know you grid, essentially. After that grid's done, I'll then move into content grids. So that's going to allow us to get into some of the learning, I assume. When we do this, though, I am a huge advocate for collaboration. And so I'm going to blend in activities in my grid that require collaboration. And I'm going to organically just allow students to build in collaboration. So if we're in a blended learning environment, depending on what options I have, I really would like to, when the students are in my classroom, I'd like to get them talking, interacting. And when they're outside of the classroom in a virtual setting, I'd still like to give them avenues to collaborate. One of the biggest elements that I'm trying to emphasize to all of my teachers that I'm coaching is that you should not be planning for things that happen in the classroom and things that happen virtually. If that's your setup, you're going to fall into so many different headaches. You need to develop a system that works in both settings and can organically move from one to the other. What I love about the grid method framework is that I'm going to be able to design those learning opportunities to happen at any point, and my students are still going to be able to collaborate and learn from each other and have those avenues. So sometimes we might be using a tech tool like Flipgrid or Seesaw. Sometimes it might be a conversation I'm asking students to have, whether it be in person in the classroom or maybe doing a Google Meet. I'm going to have a lot of different options. What I really like about this idea is that I'm going to be hosting conferences with students constantly. I actually conference with my students on every single formative assessment. Something I love that the grid method lets me do is that I have the freedom and time to talk to students. And so I will be doing that day in, day out, whether they're in the classroom or via like a Google Meet or a Zoom call. I am going to go back to conferencing, and I love conferencing. Sometimes I conference with one student one-on-one. Sometimes I do a small group, and I'm just really excited to get back into that. So that's my vision. That's my idea. It's very similar to what I did during our survival time in remote learning a few months ago. But that is how I think I'm going to transition, because this system is going to allow us, regardless if we're in the classroom or virtually, to be successful and allow students to progress at their own pace. So I think that will be really valuable. That was a little long-winded. I apologize. I'm going to get to the rest of these questions. All right, let's see what the other things say here. Oh, good. Katie says, love the Better on Distance webinar. Also loving the grid method webinar. Yeah, Katie, I'm so glad to hear that. Thank you for that feedback. Really want these webinars to be really suiting your needs. And what you'll see in the grid method webinar specifically, I know you were there, is that we're modeling the grid method webinar just like we would encourage teachers to model the grid in their classroom. And I'm really loving this because this is the first time we truly have dove into doing it that way. We always did some sort of hybrid, and this I think is so authentic. I'm really enjoying it. And I love that as teachers, you're acting as our students, and we get to model being flexible, answering questions on the fly, using resources and tools, and kind of giving all of that. And I'm really excited that when we announced on Thursday, when we're doing the introduction grid, that's going to allow you, hopefully, to go throughout the entire grid webinar, have a fully designed content grid ready for students by the end of it. If you choose to participate in July and do another one, good for you. Otherwise, you could just use the pre-recorded videos from the one in June and you'll be fine, design more. And then my hope is that like at the end of July, I think it's starting July 14th, and I don't even know if that's public yet, but I think July 14th, we are going to start an introduction grid creation webinar, which will only be 2 weeks long. We're only going to do it twice a week, so it's 4 sessions. And we're going to go through, okay, now that you know you're doing the grid method, now you know what a perfect classroom looks like, now that you kind of get the content, how do you introduce this to students? How do you communicate with parents? How do you kind of build in the first week or two of your class so that you can have the success for months and months and months? And that I think will be a really fun webinar that we're doing. We just talked about on Thursday. So that will be cool and coming later this July, which will be fun. This is from a Facebook user. Oh, good. Livia says, the webinar series was so much fun, such an amazing experience. I learned so much. I'm so glad. Wasn't it so fun? In the teacher free webinar we did, we brought in all of these like different speakers from our speakers network. So Hans Apple, Jennifer Apple, Mandy Freilich, and Kevin Butler. I loved their sessions because I got to learn from them. It was so fun. And I love that it was recorded and they did the Q&A, because then I really saw there were so many of them. I want to say all of them. Like they would do a session Monday of this training on the topic, and then you'd see the evolution to that Q&A on Friday. It was really cool to see. Brian says the grid webinar has gone good so far. Fun connecting, sharing ideas. I'm so glad with other math educators. Yeah, super, super good. Sorry, the comments moved on me, so I got to go back. I would love to continue the conversation. Yes, absolutely, Livia, anytime. I completely agree, Brian. I'm learning so much from you and other math teachers. It's great to be able to bounce ideas off of math teachers. I totally agree. Collaboration, guys. If you reflect on how much you're learning from collaborating with other teachers during this time, think about how important collaboration is for our students. And we can do these in such similar ways. So I love that you're finding the benefits as well. Totally agree with setting up the program so we can work in class digitally. That's what I've set up for June. We've worked so far. Yeah, Olivia, I know you're back in your classroom in a blended model. How do you get students discussions on a digital call? Well, it depends, like what your students are discussing. How do you get student discussion on a digital call? I'd really encourage you, like the best way to get your students to discuss anything is to first of all ensure that they know the topic and make it interesting to them. So this is a totally non-engaging example, but for the sake of this conversation, every single time my students take a quiz, we conference and we discuss. And my mindset has changed on this, and I'm so happy with where I am right now. But who knows, I guess it could change again. But I'm so happy with how I do my quizzes, because as a math teacher, I have to do formal quizzes. It's a requirement from my district. And when we do these quizzes, the students, when we're in class, they go into class, they put their folders up, they take their quiz, and then they turn it into this turn-in folder, whatever. So throughout the time, I'm buzzing around like a bee. And when I see like one or two quizzes in the turn-in folder, because remember, my students can take assessments as they go, so they all come in at different times. I take 2 or 3 and I look at them. And as I look at them, I get to see what mistakes did they make, what things do they need reteaching on. I'm kind of like scanning them, right? It's somewhere between like 4 to 6 questions. Then I usually either have one student who I don't feel like needs to conference for very long. So I might pull them up, ask them 2 or 3 questions, and they go. But more often than not, I invite all 3 up, and we use their quizzes just as notes. Like I haven't marked on them. I haven't touched them. They're holding their quizzes, and we actually have a standing table we use. So we put them on the standing table, and I just point, and I'm like, all right, tell me about this problem. And so that gets the conversation going. And sometimes I wish I had a video of this, but more often than not, a student jumps in to answer and they give me 2 or 3 sentences, and then we press pause and we go to the next student, finish that thought. So a lot of our discussion, that facilitated discussion, really is me facilitating and them feeling confident with what they're saying because they have the notes in front of them, but they can also see each other's quizzes. So they can also comment about, oh, well, Livia, staying next to me, I see that you subtracted 6 wrong. I actually added 6. So then they can have this conversation. Digitally, you can do the same thing. So if you're doing it on a digital call, you could have students snap a picture of their quiz and you could share it with each other, or they could upload it into a folder. You could have students just on camera and they could be showing their quiz and I could just be hearing their voice. You could do it a lot of different ways, but the whole point of this is that discussions are easier when students know what they're talking about and when you have them engaged. And for that situation specifically, they know what they're talking about because they did their quiz, and it's something that we practice. So it's really something that is taught all year long, and they're engaged because they get to be critical and get to give feedback to all their other students as well. So these conferences last, a minute to 5 minutes, depending on what they're working on. But I absolutely know that we'll be able to do it digitally. It just is going to look different. So what I'm finding is my job as a teacher is more about figuring out how to facilitate these things rather than trying to figure out what to do with my students. Does that make sense? Kind of? All right. This says, is there a way to get the recordings for the grid method webinars? Yeah, absolutely. So the grid method webinars are running like all of our other webinars. So if you go to teachbetter.com/grid webinar, you're going to find that you can register for the grid webinar, and you can register at any time. We're 2 weeks in right now. There's 2 weeks left, but you can register at any time because we're actually learning how to do the grid method by doing a grid. And so everything's recorded. So once we do a session, it's downloaded and saved into our academy. So you'll have lifetime access to all of our discussions and recordings and all of that. You also get all the resources. But if you don't want to start halfway in, which if that like for whatever reason isn't what you're looking to do, we're starting another one in July. So regardless of how we're doing, what webinar you're a part of, we record everything and it's always saved in some sort of course in our academy. So there's actually a course in our academy special for our grid method webinar participants that will house and has been housing all of the content. So if you register, you get an email about all that information. I signed up for the intro grid webinar, so looking forward to it. Oh, I'm so excited. Good. Thursday, I spent more time interacting with leaders and other teachers than I did actually working on my grid. I need to get caught up. You know, Brian, it's interesting you say that. I know we talked about this earlier, but because we're using a grid to design a grid, like work time is fluid. So like Brian, you could choose to work like tonight, right? You could choose to work whenever you want on your grid, but for we have a purposeful check-in on Tuesdays and a purposeful check-in on Thursdays, and we have office hours Wednesdays. So as a student, you have the flexibility to work whenever you find the time, whenever your schedule allows, or when you check in on Tuesday, you could choose to work during that time. The benefit, like you noted here, though, is that there's actually a lot of wonderful discussion going on when you are popping into these meetings on Tuesday and Thursdays, which is wonderful because sometimes those discussions give us the fuel we need to better understand what we're working on. I know literally on Thursday, all I did was host a Q&A in our main room, and people like popped in and out of the main room to ask questions. And it's wonderful because sometimes you just need someone else to process with before you get back to work. And it's great that we have that already in on our Tuesdays and Thursday meetings. Glad that you guys are all looking forward to it. That's awesome. Got all signed up. All right. Such a great mix of presenters. Yes, the better distance webinar series. Totally agree. Brandon says, Ray, considering the COVID-19 pandemic, do you anticipate any business partners, partner businesses changing their contributions to support your Teach Further model this year? Brandon, I really don't. So for those of you that don't know, I won't go too long on this, but that's a great question, Brandon. So my classroom has 25 different themed internships that are all sponsored by local businesses, and students learn their content by participating in these internships. So I have 25 different business sponsors that are invested in our students learning the content that they're using in their real world roles, right? So I have business partners that donate a variety of different things. Some donate supplies, some donate little gimmicks, some donate a lot of money. I mean, I've been very fortunate. I have wonderful business partners, but a lot of them, more than anything, they all invest their time. So either they're popping into our classroom or they're creating live videos and sending them to students. A lot of the role that our business partners play is that they are the umbrella of purpose for our students. And then they're also cheerleaders for our students throughout that entire learning experience. So because of that, Brandon, I only have out of the 25, I bet somewhere between 10 and 15 actually like donate funds to our classroom. And I don't think that those funds are of enough value that they're going to pull out because of COVID-19. At least they haven't told me that they're going to. So I think I'm okay. A lot of them invest their time and come into my classroom. And that is going to look different because I don't know that we're going to be able to have guests or strangers in our classrooms. So what I think I'm going to do more of, I think their role is going to change slightly, where I'm going to be asking for more video support, where they might be, holding up their phone and recording a video for my students to encourage them and celebrate them instead of coming into the classroom and actually being with them. So I think that's probably where my shift is going to come. July 6th is kind of like a national day in my world because July 6th is when I check in with all of my 25 different business partners and we confirm that they're invested for the year. And so while I haven't, obviously it's not July 6th yet, so I haven't confirmed them for this coming year. That is kind of the route I'm going. So let me know if you have more questions about that because it's a great question. Nobody's asked me that yet. So good for you. I appreciate it. Oh, Andrew's jumping in late, putting the baby to sleep. No stress. I love it. Every time I touch these comments, they like wig out on me. So I keep losing my place. Good. So Brian says, have a good rest of your Sunday. I have to jump on another meeting. Brian, I hope you have a good rest of your Sunday as well. Olivia says, to get students to discuss, I teach them how. One strategy is to build on each other's ideas like Jenga blocks. Ooh, I love that analogy. I've never used that before. Good for you. They watch me with others like in the fishbowl so they can see that. Oh, I love that. So Olivia, I love that you're emphasizing that to get discussions, you need to teach it. So just like anything in our classroom, we shouldn't assume our students know how to do it. So that's why we do pre-tests. That's why we have all these different formative assessments. We don't assume students know things. And there are teachers I interact with, maybe it's one of my biggest pet peeve, where the first, beginning of their sentence or whatever is, well, my students should know how to do that. And my answer every time is like, why? Like, how does their age show that they should know how to do something? Because I have interviewed people before who don't know how to handshake. And I'm like, you're 20 plus, 30 plus, 40 plus. How do you not know how to give a handshake? Because their age has nothing to do with their ability to do something. It's if they were taught the skill that they'll be able to do it. And so I really, truly believe that if you're a teacher in your mind, you're like, well, they're in 5th grade, so they better know how to do it. It's like, well, you're losing the battle before you even begun. Do not assume that your students know how to do something. If you want them to know how to do something, pre-assess them to see if they do. And if they do, golden, you don't have to teach it. But if they don't, then get ready to do some sort of reteaching to support that skill. Every single one of my students has training all year long on handshakes, eye contact, tone of voice, and volume. Always. I don't assume that an 11-year-old knows how to do any of those skills, but I do hope that a 12-year-old knows how to do those skills. So I try and instill those throughout our teaching, throughout our mini lessons. For those that know me outside of grid method training, this is kind of my soapbox I love to stand on. But skills have to be taught. So I encourage you all to really consider what skills do you want your students to know, and then how are you confirming they have that before you get frustrated that they don't have it, if that makes sense. Cool, so good. Love the I do, we do, you do. I explain the strategy to my students and they invest. I love that. So Brandon says, good, thanks, Ray. You know what I say about should. Get out of shouldville. Lindsay, that's one of my favorite quotes that you had. Was that during our daily drop-in that you said that? But Lindsay, if you have not seen Lindsay's daily drop-in, you can go to YouTube because it's all recorded there, but it's also in Facebook if you want to search for it. But Lindsay did a daily drop-in where she did just like so many mic drop moments, and one of them was get out of shouldville. So that's so cool. Han says, intentional teaching is huge. Ain't that the truth? Ooh, I love this. I think this is a good reflection. I was a victim of that. You should already know how to ... back in 4th grade. I'll never do that to a person. Yes. So Danielle's reflecting like, I had that experience where somebody in 4th grade told me I should know how to do this. And I know that what feeling that has. So instead, I'm not going to do it. And I love that. Good for you. So cool. So we've been live for 40 minutes. Holy cow, where has the time gone? If any of you want to throw in other questions you have about me, about the classroom, about the team, anything in between, just as a recap, this is our bi-weekly family check-in. We do every other Sunday. It was sparked by our private Facebook group when essentially our private Facebook group at the time said, we want a live video that's just a Q&A, and we've never stopped. So every other Sunday for about a year, we go live at 7 o'clock Central, 8 o'clock Eastern to answer questions and do whatever we can to set the right tone and set the energy up so that you can be successful moving forward to the next week. So as you continue to end your Sunday, hopefully with some bright energy and some new ideas, food for thought, feel free to post questions here. Happy to be a brainstorming partner. I may not have all the answers, but I can try. All right. Another comment says, what do you think is going to take place in the handshake? Oh gosh, I brought up handshake post-COVID. I'm not sure how socially acceptable handshake will be for a while. Anyway, I'm honestly curious. I so appreciate that you asked. I'm not offended at all. You can be honestly curious. I actually don't think that handshakes are going to be a thing for a really long time. I won't lie to you. For quite some time. I've heard the dramatic end where people are like, handshakes are over. This is never going to come up ever again. It's going to be like an ancient, practice. And I've heard, okay, just give us a year or two. To be completely honest with you, I think that the handshake is more than the handshake. Like when we teach, let me go through. So when I teach handshakes to students, the first time they get it, we are talking more about appropriate greetings and body language. We do a lot of work with body language. And let me tell you, middle schoolers need it. So when we teach handshake, I have 2 videos that I always start. I've used them for years. They're so outdated, but they're awesome. And the one is the 10 worst handshakes. So we model goofy ways, with the claw, all these dead fish, all these horrible ways to handshake, right? And then the second video is actually on body language. It has nothing to do with a handshake. It has to do with rolling your shoulders back. And when you're sitting in a meeting, wanting to not lean back in your chair, but sit forward and lean in because you're interested. It has to do with, I guess it does touch a little on handshakes, that you want to be this way when you give a handshake versus putting someone's hand down or lifting your hand up. We talk about how your hand should come up perfectly from your side versus coming around. So we talk a lot about how body language actually is seen by the person you're speaking to. So to go back to handshakes post-COVID, I actually think we're still going to do a lot of that same work, but just not the handshake. There are so many other ways to greet people. I mean, even now, I've been seeing, Chicago is a horrible city right now dealing with COVID. They've been doing so much and it's just been horrible numbers. But a lot of them are doing elbows, right? You touch elbows, say hi, So whatever it is, I think it's going to be so much more about body language and appropriate gestures to show someone that you see them, show someone that you're acknowledging them, show someone that you're taking the time to truly say, hi, how are you? I think it's going to focus a lot on eye contact, elements like that. So I'm not getting rid of it so much as I'm ready to maybe take the physical hand touching away, because there's other ways to make people feel seen and special and give a proper introduction. I hope that answered your question. Let me know if it didn't. Another comment says, Ray, do you know of high school teachers who have been successful with the Teach Further model? Yeah, totally. We've seen the Teach Further model actually I like to say K-12, but I actually have done it for my college students that I led when I taught courses at Illinois State University. What was that, in the fall? So I love the Teach Further model. To be completely biased, just so you know, Jen, I created the Teach Further model. So I could tell you everything and anything. And I could also connect with a lot of people, not only in our private Facebook group, but just in school districts that we're training the Teach Further model for. What I love about the Teach Further model is it's really about bringing our students into our community and bringing our communities into our classrooms. I think so much of the distaste that people have for public schools is because people aren't invested in our public schools. I think the first step to getting people invested in any school, private, public, charter, anything in between, is to be in it and to see it, because there's so much magic that goes on in our schools. And so if we can do 2 things at the same time, if we can create an umbrella of purpose for our students so they know the why behind their content, and that why behind the content can come into the school and see the learning in action, we can accomplish incredible things. As a classroom teacher myself, I have not spent money on my classroom in 6 years because I have incredible community members that are truly invested in the success of my students so that I don't have to spend money out of pocket. The biggest piece that I think is so beneficial for this, honestly, for a teacher mindset, is that it layers with so many things. So I'm using the grid method and I layer on the Teach Further model. So my students are doing mastery learning in a self-paced environment. And then we're laying on okay, and this is the purpose and engagement of that content. And then I'm so excited, thanks to all that I'm learning about award-winning culture with Hans and Jennifer Apple and the book that just came out. Now I'm excited to layer another thing on of now taking this school-wide. So like there's so many layers to this, and you just need to find as the teacher all the different layers that you want to add to give your students that holistic experience. So I would be happy to connect you with a ton of high school teachers, some of which are even maybe on this thread or in this group. Facebook user says, I'm a handshaker and high fiver. It's going to take a lot of self-control and reminders to stop myself from, yes, I'm totally in the same spot. Like when we go back to school, how are we not going to hug our students? Like I'm in a very weird space too, where I'm like, I high five and handshake all the time. And that's like, I don't even know how it's all going to translate. So we're going to have to do our best. Hans just said teach further equals whole child. Absolutely. I love that. Whole child teaching is so important, and Hans is the king of it. So make sure to connect with him. Chelsea says, I'm reading a book in my master's cohort that talks about the importance of community partnerships in the classroom, and just kept thinking about the teach further model the whole time. Yeah, Chelsea, it's interesting. I had my own kind of reflection moment on this on Thursday, actually, when Kim Bearden hosted Mastery Chat, because for those who don't know, I'm like a massive Kim Bearden fan. But it was interesting because as you look at the things you're learning in your master's program or other avenues, there are on a Tuesday night. But like my struggle was, I'm trying to not like get on a ramp here, but like, so I was diagnosed SLD in second grade and had a learning disability, ever since. And I am not someone that is good at like one hit wonder events, because to be honest with you, I can't stay organized with them. Like if I'm only doing something on Tuesdays, I forget about it by the second week because I'm like, oh yeah, it's Tuesday, right? I need consistent routines for me to be successful. And I know that that's a skill that I need to put into my organizational system so that I can really reach my learners. And so when I was seeing these like career fairs and community events, I'm like, how is this just something we're doing every so often? I want to blend it into everything. I want my students to know the purpose behind learning every single moment of the day, because when things get hard, why would we put so much effort into learning something if we've forgotten why we should be learning it? So when you connect for a student that they're learning something because of a real purpose, that investment becomes so much stronger. And so it's just funny. Oh, that's Alfie. It's just funny because as we started designing the Teach Further model, it was with that in mind that we wanted to be better than, a career fair. We really wanted to bring that purpose into the classroom every single day, because that's how you get invested learners. And I love that you're kind of like focusing on community partners, because community partners are more than just the PTO. Community partners are more than just the people that, bring a food truck in on a fun Tuesday. It's more than people that just pop in and, share during a speaker that comes in and talks. It has to be integrated into every single thing that you do, or it won't have the impact that you want it to have. All right, I'm moving forward. Sorry about that. If you want to learn more about the Teach Further model, we do have a free and a full course with a workbook in our academy. Just so you know, teachbetteracademy.com. Joe says, how do you get businesses to buy in? Oh, this is a long conversation, Joe. This is like all we talk about in the course, actually, that I just referred to in our academy. He says letters, meetings, sales pitches, and he's asking to my classroom. All right, Joe. How do I put this like simply? Because I literally could talk on this. We could be live for another 3 hours. Okay. How do I want to go with this? Whenever I present on the Teach Further model, which actually I haven't done in a long time, whenever I go into a school district and share this idea, the two questions I always get is, Ray, do I have to do fluffy stuff? And my answer is no. I like doing fluffy stuff. So that's me. And the other question is, how do you get invested sponsors? Because I have sponsors that commit a lot of money, a lot of resources, and a lot of time in my students. And they want to know, like, where do you find these invested sponsors? And my answer is, you don't. You build them. Just like you don't find invested students and engaged learners. You create them. You build them. And it's the same with our sponsors. When I first started using the Teach Further model 7 years ago, my first sponsor was Pizza Hut. And I walked into Pizza Hut. I was already picking up dinner. And I asked for the manager. And I said, I'm doing something wacky with my students. Can I borrow napkins with your logo on it. And the manager, as crafty as he was, says, you want to borrow them so you're going to bring them back? And I was like, oh no, I'm not. Can I steal napkins with your logo on it? And he was like, sure, of course. And pointed to where the straws were. He's like, take how much you need. I'm like, I have 100 students and we're doing a Pizza Hut unit. And I want to start the day with a napkin with your logo on it. So they feel like we're doing something different. And they were like, okay, go for it. So I go back, they were right by my house. So I go back a week later and I'm like, oh my God, the napkins were so cool. Is there any way I could steal the yard sign that's outside in your parking lot? Cause it said welcome to Pizza Hut on this, the yard signs that sticks in. And I'm like, that'd be so cool to hang on the door and whatever. It was the most lame thing, but I just kept going back and being like, can I have something that you already have an abundance of? Because it's going to make a massive difference in my classroom. Later on, the same system was in place, but I kind of developed a system for asking, right? So one of my favorite stories was when Walgreens became a sponsor for my classroom. And I literally called the 1-800 number for Walgreens, and I got transferred about 3,400 times. And finally, I got stuck on the phone with Michelle, who works for Walgreens in Kansas, by the way. And this is always my stick. And I literally said it 3,400 times on the phone. Hi, I know this sounds crazy. My name's Ray Hughart. I'm currently a 6th grade teacher at Evans Junior High in Bloomington Normal. And my students do these amazing themed internships where they take on real businesses to learn the content. Is there any way that I could use Walgreens logo on my packet? And it's funny because when you ask that, the answer is always yes, because the Walgreens logo is something you can get for free on Google without asking. Especially, the only reason you can't get the Walgreens logo is you can't sell something with the logo on it without giving credit to Walgreens. I'm not selling my packets. I just want to put it on a packet. So then you always get somebody on the phone who's like, well, yeah, but your students do what? And now they're interested. So every single time I talk to a sponsor, I don't do letters. I don't do emails. I pick up the phone. Because when I get somebody on the phone, I can gush about my students and tell stories and talk about amazing impacts. I have 3 or 4 stories from students that literally have gotten jobs in a themed internship from 6th grade. And now they're out of high school and they work for that company because of a connection they made in 6th grade math. I have so many stories that if I can get them on the phone, and it doesn't matter who, if I can get anybody in the company on the phone, then they become invested. And after that happens, you just follow up and you follow up and you follow up. So for me, I have a calendar. So when I have an initial phone call with somebody, I call again a week later. Hey, it's Ray again. I'm that teacher that called you last week. I just want you to know the students loved XYZ, whatever they did, and they're so appreciative. And I just want you to know that you truly changed their life. And next week, we're doing XYZ. Is there any way, and I know this is a long shot, so please bear with me. Is there any way that you can record a 15-second video for my students, just celebrating the work they're doing? And then the person's on the phone always is like, well, yeah, I could do that. And I'm like, you don't have to edit it. You just pick up your phone. And if you go to the camera feature, then you could just press record right there. And then right when you're done, you can email it straight to me. No editing. Don't worry about it. And all I would love for you to say is hey, Miss Hughard's class at Evans Junior High, heard you're doing really great stuff. Keep it up. And people just slowly become invested. So, for example, Tobin's Pizza, who is a business that I work with right now, donates, I don't know, thousands of dollars worth of resources to my students every year. They've been a part of my classroom for 5-6 years. And they just know every year, sometime in October, crazy Miss Hughart's going to call, and they get to be part of it. And not every business leader is invested to that extent. Walgreens is a great one, but what are some low key ones? Oh, like B-Dubs. B-Dubs was a sponsor for a year and then chose not to do it again. And that's okay. There's no shame, no harm, but it was just an experience for my students to be able to see math in action. And then they get to walk around and tell people what internship they're in. My first year when Tobin's Pizza was a sponsor, it's a local pizza company in town. They had people walking in Tobin's Pizza, students being like, hey, I work here. And like, it's funny because the students really believe, like, they get certificates. A lot of the times they get different shirts or outfits to wear. I mean, like, they truly become invested because we make it a real experience, because it has to be for them to learn the content. And so, anyway, I'm sorry, I got on my soapbox. I apologize. I told you I would try not to do this, but this is my love. This is where my passion comes. And I use the grid method to make sure that the content is rigorous. And I use the Teach Further model to make sure it's purposeful and make sure that students actually are invested in the process. And so my students actually leave the year with a full resume of 25 different jobs they've taken on. Everything from a restaurant manager to a Starbucks barista to working at a library to it's just, we actually even have a unit where they're unemployed and they're job hunting. And it really just allows them to see mathematics in action. And kind of try out different careers, because it always ends with a reflection of like, what about this career did I like? And what about this career am I not invested in? And hopefully by the end, we are slowly building students that are more self-aware of what they want to do in their future. So no longer junior year are they going to be sitting in their counselor's office being like, what do you want to do with your life? And the student's like, I have no idea. No one's ever asked me that before. Like, I want students to know, if you are working in customer service and you hate talking to people, great. Don't go into customer service. But did you like serving food? Did you like Did you like cooking? Because like, maybe that's an avenue you could go. Or did you like being a doctor? Okay, fine. Did you know that to be a doctor, you have to go to this much schooling and you have to do this and this and this? Did you know that you can do that locally? Did you know they have to travel? I mean, all these different things have to be a part of conversations. And then now, because of the Teach Further model, they're organically a part of our conversations because they're built into our internships. Sorry, my favorite topic ever. I hope that answered your question, which totally probably went far beyond what you asked. But my answer to how do you get buy-in from businesses is that you show them your passion and you follow up and you build invested sponsors just like you build invested students, except for your business partners don't usually go away and they come back year to year, even though your students move on to a different grade level. So, all right, more comments. I'm so sorry I got on a little bit of a tangent there. I came away from Wednesday's 12 hours with an incredibly long list of books I want to read. Oh, good. I hope you find time, Nikki. That's so fun. Don't forget, nudge, nudge, teachers deserve it. Coming later this summer. Add that one to your list. Han says, yes, personal outreach is king. Adam says, such a great idea. I need to start looking into the resources around my school. Katie says, me too. Joe says, yes, it did. Good. I'm glad I answered your question. Andrew says, I love watching you talk about your passion. It really is my passion, guys. I'm a little all over the place today because it was a question that I was just trying to answer that I went in a few different directions for. But especially if you read the Teach Better book, or if you take the Teach Further class, the course at teachbetteracademy.com, there's a lot of passion with this, and there's a lot of amazing ways to do it, whether you're a kindergarten teacher, third grade teacher, eighth grade science teacher, or high school geometry teacher. There's a million different avenues that you can do to make sure that your students are engaged in a purposeful way. So love it. And I love all the shout outs for TDI. So excited for Teachers Deserve It. I've been live for 60 minutes, an entire hour. Holy moly. I so appreciate you guys joining me here. If you have any other questions that you want to ask about me, the team, our academy, anything about the Teach Better anything, feel free to ask here. Otherwise, I'm going to go and let you all enjoy your Sunday night. My phone is blowing up with text messages and my dogs are goofing. I'm not going to show you with the computer, but let's just say that I have a little dog and a big dog, and the little dog is underneath the big dog right now. Some sort of wrestling going on over there. But any questions that I can answer for our bi-weekly family check-in, I appreciate you all being here. Again, we do this every other Sunday, so feel free to join. Adam says, I was wearing Kids Deserve It sweatshirt. I need a Teachers Deserve It one. That will come. Awesome. Another comment says, I'd love to brainstorm how Teach Further could work in high school English. Let's chat. Yeah, anytime. I don't know, just DM me. Let's make it work. I love high school English. I'd love to brainstorm with you. There's a whole lot you can do with writing, like a whole lot, and a whole lot you can do with reading because they're found everywhere. So you will not be my first high school English teacher I've collaborated with, and nor you will be my last. I'd love to collaborate more. Hi, puppy. Hans says, Maya wants to know how many miles we walked today. Ooh, Hans, we got up this morning and we went to Peoria, Illinois, which was a little bit of a drive for us. And we grabbed coffee from my favorite coffee shop and we walked around the riverfront. So I think we went like 3 miles today with the dogs. It was so beautiful out. It was the perfect weather. I had my Teach Better sweatshirt on. So it was like, I was rocking it. Drank coffee. It was long enough that I finished my coffee on the walk. So you knew it was a good one. So I appreciate all of you that are saying thank you. Good to see you all. If you need anything, feel free to reach out at any time. And I hope you guys all choose to start your week off with some wonderful energy and enjoy some relaxation with your family for the rest of your evening. So thank you for all that you do. Thank you for listening to my rambling. And if you want to direct message me at any point, the team is here to support you. So thank you for all that you do. See you later, guys.